Here it says you can apply these power properties and the exponent rules you've already learned to simplify expressions. Now, it does say they've got an example word for us, but remember, we're not going to work through the example. We're just going to kind of look over it, kind of go over some key points, because it's already been worked out for you. We're just going to dive into the examples themselves, okay? So it says they use the power of a power property. They simplified their exponents in the numerical terms. They used the commutative property to group. They did the product of powers property, and then they simplified all their exponents. Basically, they are trying to condense it as much as possible, get all the coefficients together, group all the x's together, group all the y's. Okay, so we're going to take a look at B. B, they did a quotient here. They did a division, so they used the power of the quotient property. Then they simplified their exponents, did the negative power because we don't like negatives in our answer, and then they simplified it the best way they could. We're going to take a look at the couple examples that are given to us here. A. 2x squared y to the third power times negative 3x squared. Oops, sorry, no square there. That's a mistake. Okay. This should be y cubed to the square. All right. Now remember, we're going to first get rid of these parentheses by doing the exponent. This is called the power of a product property. Means I multiply this power on the outside to every exponent on the inside. Well, I'm going to go put ones in those imaginary placeholders for me, okay? 1, 1, 1, and 1, okay? So over here, we're going to have 2, 1 times 3, x, 2 times 3, and y, 1 times 3. My exponent on the inside times the exponent on the outside. Let's do that for the second set. We've got negative 3, which is always a tricky one, so I'm going to put it in parentheses, okay? Sorry, I was looking at something. Negative 3, this is going to be 1 times 2 because there's a 2 on the outside, right? Here we're going to have x to the 1 times 2 because I had an exponent of 1. Remember, I made a mistake. I had to go back. And then we have y 3 times 2. We want to simplify our exponents. What is 1 times 3? 3. 2 times 3? 6. Y. 1 times 3? 3. Here we have negative 3 raised to the 1 times 2, which is 2. X to the 1 times 2 is 2. And y to the 3 times 2, which is 6. still simplify this a little bit more. What is 2 to the third power? 8. X6 y cubed, right? And we're taking this and multiplying it by, what is negative 3 to the second power? It's not negative 9. That's the reason why I said it was definitely important to keep the parentheses here, because negative 3 times negative 3 is actually positive 9. Okay? And then we got the x squared y6. All right, now we're going to group our items together using commutative. We're going to put our coefficients out to the front. We're going to do our x to the 6 times x squared. We're going to do our y cubed times y to the 6th. Okay. Now remember, we're multiplying like bases, not raising a power to a power. So here, we're just going to be using the product of a power property. 8 and 9 is 72. We're going to add our exponents here. 3 and 6. So I got 72, x to the 8, y to the 9. I'm going to write that over here. We've got 72, x to the 8, y to the 9. B. B says negative 2ab parentheses 5b squared c to the 3. Okay? So all of this is being raised to the third power, right? So we're going to use the power of a product property and multiply these by the 3. Everything that's in the parentheses, those exponents are getting multiplied. This out here in the front stays like it is. So we're just going to bring that over for right now. We're not ready for it yet. Okay. We got 5 to the 1 times 3. B to the 2 times 3. And C to the 1 times 3. We got negative 2ab, still just bringing this along for a moment. Now we're going to condense this. We've got times 5 to the third power, b to the 6th power, and c to the third power. Now I do want to go back. I forgot to bring over my 1s. I feel like they're going to be important here in a minute, so we'll keep them with us for a minute. Okay. But I can condense this even further. What is that 5 cubed? 5 cubed. So I'm going to use my calculator. 5, remember our caret key from yesterday? To the third power gives me 125. Okay. So I got negative 2 a1 b1 times 125 b6 c3. We're going to group down to our commutative property. Take our numbers, multiply those together. Now we're going to put all our A's together. Well, we only had the A1. We got a B1 in the first part and a B6 in the second part. Okay. And then we got a C cubed at the back end. What is negative 2 times 125? Negative 250. So we got a negative 250. A1's not going to change. But this base times a like base. We're going to add those exponents. 1 plus 6. And then we still got this c cubed that we're carrying along for a moment. Negative 250. Again, we're going to see that written as just a. They're not going to put that little exponent of 1. 1 plus 6 is 7, so b is going to be raised to the 7th power, and c is going to be raised to the 3rd. I'm going to go ahead and write this over on my other paper. Write that down. Negative 250, a, b to the 7, c to the 3. Let's take a look at c now. We have 4x over y to the 3 power. Okay. All raised to the negative 2. Sorry, forgot that part. That was important. Remember that this exponent is going to be raised to every term inside. So we're going to have 4 to the negative 2. Oops. Because I should have put 1 times negative 2. I forgot to put my little ones. Look at me. Slipping, I'm sorry. 1 times negative 2. Then we've got x 1 times negative 2. And in the bottom, I got y 3 times negative 2. Well, what is 1 times negative 2? Negative 2, right? So I got 4 to the negative 2 power, x to the negative 2 power, and y to the negative 6 power. All right. Well, I don't like negatives, man. Negatives are ugly. We don't accept negative answers. So how do I get rid of the negatives? Anybody recall the negative property that we did? Negative properties switches it from one side of the denominator to the other. One side of the fraction to the other. But when it does, it changes the sign. So the y to the 6 power is going to go up, but the x to the negative 2 and the negative 4 to the negative 2 will come down. So y goes up and changes signs. 4 goes downstairs, changes signs, and so does x. One last thing to do. What is 4 squared? 16. So my final answer is y to the 6th power over 16x to the 2nd power. So that was y to the 6th power over 16x to the 2nd power. 2 more to go. I know it's taken a while, but we got to get through them, okay? So D. We've got 5x divided by y, all raised to the 2nd power. We've got y cubed over 10x squared. All right. Put our ones where they're imaginary, right? Everything gets a 1, right? So we've got a 2 on the outside of this parenthesis. So every exponent gets raised to a 2, so we multiply by 2. 1 times 2, x 1 times 2, y 1 times 2. And then we got y cubed over 10x squared. Okay, well, let's start getting those exponents to simplify. We've got 5 squared, x squared over y squared. Then we have x squared. Nope, sorry. Y cubed. I was looking over too far. Over 10x squared. I'm going to have to come down. So we're going to draw our arrow. Oops, sorry. This way. Okay. So I came down. Now we want to group our terms together. So I have 5 squared in the numerator position and a 10 in the denominator position. We've got x squared in the numerator position and an x squared in the denominator position. We have y cubed in the numerator position and y squared in the denominator position. Okay, got to apply our rules here. We're dividing, so we need to be subtracting those exponents. But before I can do anything with this front one, I got to find out what 5 squared is, and that is 25. We would write x to the 2 minus 2 here. This one would be y to the 3 minus 2. Both 25 and 10 can be divided by something. I'm going to type this in the calculator and show you how to do it. We would do 25 divided by 10. It's going to give us a decimal. If we wanted to make this a fraction, all we would have to do is press this key math. And the first option that comes up is frac, changing your decimal to a fraction. That is 5 halves. Okay, so we got 5 halves. What's 2 minus 2? 0. What is anything raised to the 0 power? 1. Very good. And 3 minus 2 is 1, right? So we're going to rewrite this. 5 halves. That's 1, right? And this is just y. So 5 halves y. Okay. On to the last example. No, I know. You're probably tired. I get it. This is our longest one, too. 3x, y, negative 2 squared. 2x cubed, y, z. And then we've got 6yz, 2 to the negative 1. All right, everything in this first one gets that square, right? And we actually multiply them. Well, there's a 1 and a 1, right? What's 1 times 2? 1. 2. So we're going to write 3 squared. What's 1 times 2? Again, 2. So it's going to be x squared. What's negative 2 times 2? Negative 4. That's the first parentheses. There's no exponent here, so the second parentheses is going to stay as is. I'm just going to write it. I'm going to put my ones on there because I'm afraid that I might need them a little later with those exponents, okay? Especially for my variables. Here, we're going to raise everything to the negative 1 exponent. Well, what's here? 1. 1, right? So this would be 6 to the negative 1, y to the negative 1, and z to the negative 2. All right. Let's get rid of those negatives. Don't like them, don't like them. This one's going to come below. This is going to come down. This one's going to come down. And this one, because all of those negative exponents, right? So we're going to have 3 squared x squared. And this is going to be over y to the 4th power. Remember, when it comes down, it drops that negative sign. Then we've got 2x cubed y1 z1. Now, there was nothing left in the numerator position, so we would just put 1 over it. And this is going to be 6 to the 1st power, y to the 1st power, z to the 2nd power. The next thing it tells me to do is to group my like terms. While I'm doing that, I'm also going to do this exponent on that 3 to make it a number and not a power. 3 squared is 9. We have a 2 in the numerator position and the 6 in the denominator position. I left off this 1 because if I multiply the 1, it's not going to change the answer. Sorry. All right, let's group our x's together. I have an x squared up here and an x cubed, but I have nothing in the denominator. See, I've dealt with this. Let me kind of mark through what I've done. I've dealt this, done this, done this, done this, done this, and this, okay? Now what we're going to do is we're going to go look at those y's. We have a y to the 1st power up in the numerator position. And I have a y to the 1st power and a 4th power over here. So y4, y1. Okay? So I've dealt with this one, this one, this one. That leaves me with this z to the 1st power up here in the numerator and a z to the 2nd power in the denominator. Whew, okay. Got lots going on here. What is 9 times 2 times 1? 9 times 2 is 18. 18 times 1 is 18. So we got 18 over 6. What do I do with these exponents? Since I'm multiplying, I add the exponents. So 2 and 3 is going to make 5. Here, I got 1, 4, and 1. So I got to add these down in the bottom, right? So I got y1 in the top and y5 in the bottom. All right. We have z1 and z to the 2. All right. 18 divided by 6 is 3. We got that x5 already cleaned up now. We're going to subtract. 1 minus 5 is negative 4. 1 minus 2 is negative 1. Again, I don't want negatives in my final answer, so I'm going to have to do that negative property again. 3x to the 5th in the numerator, and y to the 4 comes down, and so does z to the 1st. So again, that is 3x to the 5th divided by y to the 4th, z. 3x to the 5th divided by y to the 4th, z. All right, on to your final wrap-up of this lesson.